Welcome back to World War Live, everybody. I'm your host, Conrad Franz, here on a Wednesday evening, clean week. Hope everybody is enjoying the fast. I'm sorry, I just got back from the service, so I'm a bit frazzled here. Everyone's telling me the stream isn't working on Substack, so I was just spending the time in the lobby trying to figure that out, and it looks like it's just not working. I didn't do anything wrong. It's giving me an error here. It's just not working. So we love to see that. It says pending over on the Substack. So I guess I'll send a message in the Substack chat right now, if y'all will bear with me, that the stream is not live. So hold on one second, everybody. And I will send the YouTube link here. Give me one sec. If everyone could share the stream, please like. If you are here, be sure to tune in, like the episode, share it with your friends. All right, just sent that in the Substack chat, so that is available to everybody. Hope everyone is having a good evening. This is not a great start, but that's how it's going to be. The devil is going to try to disrupt this information as World War III continues to break out. But of course, the Orthodox Hezbollah shirt is on. We're repping it. We are not caving to the cucks and the Shabbos Goyim that are telling us that, oh, you can't support Hezbollah. You can't be a Christian and fight against Israel, all this kind of stuff. So hope everybody is having a good evening. I want to remind everybody to subscribe at worldwarnow.co. If you are not already behind the paywall, please consider doing so. I'm going to share the screen here in a second. Very disappointed about the Substack stream, so I'm going to try to just pretend that that's not happening right now. But boom, bang. Please get behind the paywall and check out the latest episodes of World War Now, all of the analysis and all of the Ether Hour episodes. Of course, we have the most recent episode of World War Now. We have our episode of Ether Hour from last week with Andrei Afanasiev, our good friend, Russian Orthodox war correspondent, the person who took me to the Donbass the times that I have been down there. So be sure to check this episode out. Really, really good in-depth episode about Russia, which he talks about the potential canonization of Alexander Suvorov and many other relevant things going on in the Russian world right now that the Western media is obviously not going to tell you. So if you get behind the paywall at worldwarnow.co, which is of course linked wherever you happen to be listening to this, you click the Ether Hour tab and you get access to, at this point, over 107 episodes that are only accessible behind the paywall. So incredible episodes with Father John Whiteford, with Eschaton Vigil, with George McMillan, with Ivan Vorobyevsky, Jose Nino, Ryan Dawson, Steve Sue, all sorts of really incredible episodes. Father Peter Hears, Abbot Trifon. You get access to my Donbass content as well, of course. My interviews at the front lines in Russia, Ukraine, and so much more. So be sure to check that out. If you are already behind the paywall, or you just want to do a one-time donation, be sure to visit the World War Now Buy Me a Coffee at buymeacoffee.com/World War Now. You can become one of the people that have donated there. It's becoming a good source of revenue. So thank you to everybody that has supported on the Buy Me a Coffee. Be sure to, again, follow World War Now. Be subscribed to the YouTube channel if you haven't already done that here on YouTube itself. So be sure to check that out. Obviously, we post all of the videos and stuff, including the free segments of the Ether Hour episodes, here to YouTube. So follow us there. Buy me a coffee, worldwarnow.co. That is what we are dealing with. But of course, we all know why you all are here. I'm really, really, really mad about the Substack situation. I'm going to try to keep going live here. And get it to go. Yep, just seems to now be working tonight. Substack streaming seems to have glitched out this evening. That's very unfortunate, but we're not going to let it put us down. Of course, there's so much going on. The Geneva negotiations between Iran and the United States are getting ready, are gearing up rather, and supposedly the Iranians have submitted a comprehensive response to the U.S. demands that do include potential stops and lowerings of the enrichment threshold that they currently have for uranium. But apparently, these are the initial reports, obviously from Israeli media, who are trying to completely sabotage all of the negotiations. They are saying that the proposal, the response from the Iranians already does not meet the requirements and the desires of the United States. So we're going to be reading the recent quotes from Marco Rubio, J.D. Vance, the Israeli media, everything else. So really, really, really big things are happening here. We have $5 from Jonathan Kelly. Super Chat Warrior, patient was wearing the same shirt yesterday. Are you implying that you're a doctor and that somebody was wearing this, that I would need to meet this person, because this shirt is no longer even commercially available? But we'll probably get into a little bit of the drama around the shirt. I posted the Orthodox Hezbollah shirt stays on Twitter yesterday. And of course, all of the Shabbos Goyim and all of the usual suspects want to come out and say a bunch of crap and defend the Jews. So we're going to be talking about all of that and so much more. If everybody wants to send in a super chat, if you want to ask me any questions, if there's anything in particular that you want to ask me and discuss, then please send in those super chats. I will read them on air, no matter how stupid, dumb, silly, random, offensive your super chat may be. So thank you all for tuning in. It's going to be a good stream. Hope you all are enjoying your Wednesday evening. I just got back from Pre-Sanctified, so hope you all were at Pre-Sanctified liturgy. I know West Coast people and others might still be at Pre-Sanctified liturgy, so clean week, Lent. Usually probably not going to be a regular Wednesday evening. We're probably going to go back to the Tuesday evenings once clean week wraps up. But alas, here we are Wednesday evening after Pre-Sanctified liturgy. Another $10 from H. Brasi. It's been hilarious seeing niggas crash out over the shirt and exposing themselves for not knowing WTF they're talking about. That one dude that called you an ecumenist being the worst case. Well, that guy is Jewish, so it's not a surprise. Of course, people would accuse the number one anti-ecumenist Orthodox Christian podcast effectively of being ecumenist. There's nothing even really besides the Arabic. If Arabic is Islamic, then the whole Antiochian Archdiocese is out of luck because that's the language that they do the services in. But it's a Christian phrase. There is one God, and His Son is Jesus Christ. That is what it means. And we've got the AK and the Hezbollah style on top of the 3-bar cross. So look, if Khrushchevsky Supply still sold these, I would happily link them below, but they do not. I'm repping it here to say screw you to the haters. But thank you for the $10, H. Brasi. Great to see you in the chat. Haven't seen you in a minute, so good to see you back. And again, we have so many different things going on as far as the Iran war goes that it's almost hard to decide where to start. But if we go over to Telegram, and you go along, you can read along at World War Now Telly on Telegram if you would like. But here we have the latest updates. Yeah, my computer's lagging out. Apologies, everybody. Goodness. All right, there we go. Scrolling back up to the top here. Of course, the other news is about this Cuban attack on this. I guess there was a Cuban flotilla that is about bringing Cubans from Cuba out into the United States, refugees, helping them get back. The Cuban Coast Guard opened fire on this flotilla, killing 6 of the people on board. So that is developing as we speak. But one of the more interesting developments here, of course, Abbas Araghchi was seen with the Omani foreign minister in Geneva preparing for the indirect negotiations that will be taking place tomorrow. A big update, I think this indicates where this is going. The Dutch airline KLM will suspend all commercial flights between Amsterdam and Tel Aviv starting on March 1st. So again, February 28th, March 1st, these are the eves of Purim, which is, if you listen to episode 152 of World War Now, Dimitri and I talk about how, much like the Crocus City Hall attack 2 years ago, much like how this 12-day war in June 2025 occurred on June 13th, which symbolized the 613 laws of the Jewish Bible. So too will this attack on Iran take place on the eve of Purim, which is a holiday commemorating Jewish victory over Persians. So it would be foolish it would be silly for them not to take advantage of this now that things are already building up this way. But Israel Hayom, which of course, major Israeli news outlet, it says, instead, according to diplomatic sources familiar with the negotiations, and this is reference to the recent document the Iranians put forward, the document showed almost no change from the proposal Iran presented at the previous round. While Tehran expressed willingness to follow increased international oversight of its nuclear facilities, it offered no flexibility on the central U.S. demand for a complete halt to uranium enrichment on Iranian soil. And again, so where we're at right now is that the Iranians are still not meeting the U.S. demands on the nuclear file. And both Israel, now J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio, as I'm going to read in a second, that's already not enough anyway. Even if they did meet the U.S. demands on the nuclear file, they've made it clear that the possession of the ICBM possibilities and the ballistic missile program of Iran is unacceptable, as is the funding of their proxies. And now here comes the new rhetoric. We have breaking news. This is from Rare Navarm. It says, we see evidence that Iran is trying to rebuild nuclear weapons, from Vice President J.D. Vance. And then we have Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Iran is trying to achieve intercontinental ballistic missiles. The Iranians not discussing the ballistic missile file in Geneva negotiations is a big, big problem. That's also from Rubio. Rubio then went on to say that Iran poses conventional weapons that are designed to attack America, which is total nonsense, unless he means American bases in the region. Of course, the troop surge and the flight surge, we're going to get into some more of the details. It is currently flying USAF cargo flights to/from bases near the CENTCOM area of responsibility, including Al Udeid, Muwafaq, Salti Camp, and Lemanir and Djibouti, and Chania Airport, while the total number of flights related to the buildup of forces in the Middle East has almost reached 300. 300 flights seem impressive. When I calculated weight for 257 flights, it's 15,000 metric tons. In 2003, sea lift with blah, 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 blah. Airlift is inefficient. Yeah, they're talking about how they need more naval deployments. And this is probably the biggest update, and this is exactly what I've suspected would happen the entire time. If you go back and listen to the episodes of how I think this would likely go down, much like the 12-day war when Israel struck first. It says here, this is from Tab's Alternative Media. It says senior advisors to President Trump would prefer that Israel strike Iran before the United States takes direct military action, as they believe an initial Israeli attack could provoke Iranian retaliation and help build domestic support among American voters for a subsequent U.S. strike, Politico reports. Even so, the most likely outcome may be a coordinated U.S.-Israeli operation. Those close to the president reportedly view military action as a serious possibility, with one person describing the prevailing mindset as, we're going to bomb them. The scale of any attack remains under debate. Key concerns include the risk of draining U.S. munition stockpiles, potentially giving China an opportunity to move against Taiwan, and the prospect of American casualties if Washington opts for a more aggressive regime change level assault. Marco Rubio went on, he said, eventually we'll have to talk about the ballistic missile program as well, but if we can't even make progress on the nuclear program, it's going to be hard to make progress on ballistic missiles. I wouldn't characterize tomorrow as anything else except another opportunity to talk. The Wall Street Journal reports that satellite imagery indicates continued work on a tunnel network beneath Pickaxe Mountain near the Natanz enrichment site, which is one of Iran's major nuclear facilities. And of course, with this shirt being relevant, it says here, this Hezbollah official told AFP, it says Hezbollah will not intervene if the U.S. launches limited strikes against Iran, but that any direct attack on Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei would cross a red line. And then an Israeli security official told Israel Hayom that an American strike will most likely lead to the overthrow of the Ayatollahs. So that is the current status of the negotiations and of the preparation. Of course, the military buildup is massive here from Anti-War. It says 12 U.S. F-22 Raptor fighter jets that departed the U.K. on Tuesday have arrived at an Israeli Air Force base in southern Israel, Ynet has reported, as the U.S. continues its massive military buildup in the Middle East to prepare for an potential attack on Iran. The F-22s arrived in the U.K., last week, part of the more than 150 U.S. military aircraft that have shifted to Europe and the Middle East since February 17th, as tracked by the Washington Post. An Israeli official speaking to China's Xinhua news agency about the U.S. F-22 deployment said that the Israeli military is preparing for all possible scenarios, including an Iranian attack or retaliatory strike. The U.S. defended Israel from Iranian retaliatory strikes during the 12-day war in June 2025, though many missiles got through U.S. air defenses. The Ynet report said that the aircraft carrier USS Gerald Ford is still heading east in the Mediterranean Sea and has passed Crete. Once it arrives near Israel's coast, it will be the second U.S. aircraft carrier positioned in the region to prepare for an attack on Iran, joining the USS Abraham Lincoln, which has been operating in the Arabian Sea. U.S. officials previously told the New York Times that Ford and its 3 destroyer escorts are likely to be initially deployed near the coast of Israel to defend Tel Aviv and other Israeli cities and towns. The U.S. defended Israel from Iranian counterattacks during the 12-day war, though many Iranian missiles still got through U.S. air defenses, which included U.S. Navy destroyers firing SM-3 missiles. The Ford was deployed to the Mediterranean after spending several months in the Caribbean, where it supported Operation Southern Spear, the U.S. military mission that involved bombing small boats in the attack on Venezuela to abduct Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. The crew of the Ford has been on an extended deployment and will break the post-Vietnam War U.S. carrier deployment record if it remains at sea through mid-April. So they've been out there a long time. Of course, everybody is hearing the reports about how the toilets don't work, about how there's poop everywhere, about how there's hours and hours of lines. Someone asks, Dono chat available. Not sure what that means. Everyone feel free to send in a super chat. I will answer whatever questions people have. We have $20 from Jonathan Kelly. Listen, the U.S. would never, ever allow our ships to be sunk or to be a pretext for war, like the Gulf of Tonkin, the Pearl Harbor, and the USS Maine. So true, Jonathan Kelly. Our government would never do such a thing. Those are American sailors. That's American hardware. Our tax dollars paid for that stuff. So why would our government destroy that as a pretext to go to war? Who knows what kind of false flag could go down? Of course, Israel could orchestrate something. One of Israel's proxies could orchestrate something. ISIS has been resurging. ISIS is apparently back and stronger than they've been since Trump's first term, apparently. So that's a whole factor that I'm sure Israel is also behind. So be sure to keep all of that in mind. But huge amount of aircraft. Again, we haven't had this many aircraft deployed in the Middle East since the Iraq War. So this is a big deal. But one of the biggest geographic updates that might have to do with a potential map change, if all of these things go down, excuse me. It says here, Turkey is preparing for the possibility of an influx of refugees from Iran, Bloomberg has reported, as the U.S. is preparing to launch a potential attack on the Islamic Republic, which could spark a full-blown regional war. Bloomberg sources said that officials in Ankara have updated their contingency plans to prepare for large numbers of displaced people in the event of a major conflict. And options range from setting up camps near the border to entering Iranian territory to prevent refugees from crossing into Turkey. The report said that the possibility of Turkey sending forces into Iran to stop refugees would only be considered if there was a power vacuum in Iran. The Bloomberg report also said that NATO's air surveillance forces in Turkey have shifted their focus from keeping an eye on Russia to Iran. The alliance has frequently used its advanced AWACS radar planes based in Turkey to help keep tabs on both countries. However, the frequency of flights from the central Anatolian city of Konya to watch Iran has increased. Meanwhile, the U.S. continues its massive military buildup in the region, shifting more than 150 military aircraft to Europe or the Middle East since February 17th, and the U.S. aircraft carrier USS Gerald Ford is heading towards the eastern Mediterranean Sea. So again, if this is a bluff, if this was all meant to be brinksmanship to convince the Iranians to go back on their word, which is that any kind of strike will mean a regional war, I think at this point, there's going to be some kind of strike, and Trump wants it to be a limited strike that would then bring the Iranians back to the negotiating table, whereas the Iranians have made it abundantly clear that any kind of strike, any kind of assault on them at all in the midst of these negotiations will trigger an all-out regional war. They will attack every base. They will try to destroy Israel. Their proxies will be activated. And obviously, if that happens, even if the initial strikes were limited, of course, then it's going to be all-out war from America and Israel, which is why, like we just said, Trump would prefer Israel launch the attack, Israel retaliates, big media blow up about how Iran kills innocent civilians and American soldiers, then we go in and dethrone the regime. So that seems to be the way that things are going. Trump even said that the Iranians refuse to say the magic phrase, "We will not create nuclear weapons. We will never develop them," except right here, and this is also from Anti-War, it says Iranian Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi on Tuesday reaffirmed Iran's longstanding position that it does not seek nuclear weapons and will never develop them. The comments come as Trump administration officials threaten war over claims Tehran may be pursuing a bomb, even as President Trump insists he already obliterated Iran's nuclear program. Araghchi made the remarks in a post on X, where he referenced upcoming talks with the U.S. in Geneva and said Iran was ready for a deal with the U.S., while also affirming Tehran's right to enrich uranium for civilian purposes. Our fundamental convictions are crystal clear. Iran will under no circumstances ever develop a nuclear weapon. Neither will we Iranians ever forego our right to harness the dividends of peaceful nuclear technology for our people, Araghchi wrote on X. We have a historic opportunity to strike an unprecedented agreement that addresses mutual concerns and achieves mutual interest. A deal is within reach, but only if diplomacy is given priority, he added. So, again, the Iranians don't want to, they recognize that the regime is very likely to fall if they fully go to war with the United States. But they are confident enough that that's something that they're willing to risk, as opposed to, look, if they give up the ballistic missiles, then it's over. They're just going to get struck anyway and get completely destroyed and have no way to defend themselves. So it would be ridiculous to cave on all of the demands And it's important that they maintain this kind of back and forth on the nuclear file because, again, it's a tough balance for them as well. Obviously, the potential of them building nuclear weapons is one of the main casus belli the Americans have for striking them. But if they were not this threshold nuclear power, then they wouldn't be treated with any respect at all, and everyone would be able to just go in, strike at will, no diplomacy at all. Because look at North Korea, right? North Korea, the moment they achieved nuclear weapons, suddenly they started getting treated with respect. And I believe that this is part of the convincing of the world of the mutually assured destruction doctrine. I'm not convinced that nuclear weapons are what they tell us that they are, but I think once this World War III goes hot, I think once it gets to the point where bombs are flying and the escalation ladder is no longer controllable by the Western powers, I think then that we'll probably see some tactical nuclear weapons used, and it will kind of destroy the myth and destroy the kind of the mythos around these nuclear weapons, and that, yeah, they're big and it's going to be terrible. Like I don't doubt that these are some of the biggest bombs that will ever be used, but the idea that there will be an endless nuclear winter and that the world will just end because of that's not true. So don't black pill about that if that's what you're worried about. 10 pounds or euros, 10 euros from Canned Spam. Blessed Great Lent, everyone. Stay strong in the fast. We really are on the times when good is called evil and evil good. Also, any prophecies about the Persians becoming Orthodox? I have not heard any prophecies about the Persians becoming Orthodox. I've heard prophecies about Turks, about Jews. Germans will be the first Europeans to re-embrace Orthodoxy, but who knows? The Persians, it would be amazing to see. It would make some sense theologically speaking, but I'm not sure. One thing, that there will be a Kurdish and an Armenian state, potentially maybe the Kurds and the Armenians will come around as the Greeks are giving back Constantinople, but this is all speculation because at this point we are very much awaiting what I think will be the precursor. This will probably be the final big event before Erdogan begins his fall, and the turmoil will start to happen there. Whether Iran falls or not, that's next, and that will be what triggers the Russia chapter here. So late 2026, 2027, even 2028, that's when the Russia stuff is really going to go off because, again, China-Taiwan reunification, their policy papers have always indicated 2027 as a major point for Chinese reunification with Taiwan. So huge watershed days here in the late 2020s here in the beginning of the 21st century. But, of course, Yair Lapid, the opposition leader, who ostensibly is the person trying to throw Netanyahu in jail, get the Likud party out of power. Not only did he say that there would be no opposition and that they would fully support Netanyahu and the Likud government in the midst of a war with Iran, he also has fully endorsed Mike Huckabee's Greater Israel Plan. It says here, Israeli opposition leader and former Prime Minister Yair Lapid backed the idea of Israel's biblical borders. When asked about the U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee's belief that Israel had the divine right to take over all the land between the Nile and Euphrates rivers. He says, I support anything that will allow the Jews a large, broad, strong land and a safe haven for us, our children, and our children's children. That I support. Lapid said at a press conference on Monday, according to Middle East Eye, Zionism is based on the Bible. Our mandate over the land of Israel is biblical, and the biblical borders of the land of Israel are clear. Therefore, the borders are the borders of the Bible, Lapid added. So, again, this is the liberal opposition who consider Netanyahu's Likud government and their far-right allies to be extreme, openly calling for Lebensraum for Jews, Greater Israel. And in America, our quote-unquote far-right leaders can't even say the word white. That's the level of disparity there is between how nationalist Christian or European people are allowed to be versus the Jewish people. It says Huckabee, a Christian Zionist, said in an interview with Tucker Carlson that it would be fine for Israel to take over a vast swath of land that includes territory in Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, based on a promise God made to Abraham in Genesis. Huckabee tried to downplay his view, saying that Israel wasn't attempting to take over those areas, though there is support for the idea of Greater Israel in the Israeli government, and the IDF currently occupies parts of Syria and Lebanon. Israel also continues expanding illegal Jewish settlements in the West Bank and is occupying more than 50% of Gaza. Lapid said there were security considerations to stop Israel from taking over certain territories. The Euphrates, last time I checked, was in Iraq. I don't think when the Americans entered Iraq, they experienced great relief, he said. Lapid, the leader of the Yesh Atid party, added Israel to take as much as possible within the limitations of Israeli security and the management of Israeli policy. Huckabee's comment sparked a diplomatic firestorm, prompting 14 countries to issue a statement sharply condemning his views. And of course, those countries were pretty much the majority of the Muslim world, including Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Jordan, the UAE, Indonesia, Pakistan, Turkey, Qatar, Kuwait, Oman, Bahrain, Lebanon, Syria, as well as the Gulf Cooperation Council, the Organization of Islamic States, and the Arab League. So again, normally this kind of thing leads to the immediate dismissal of an ambassador, but Huckabee, I'm sure, actually got a raise because of this from the Jews, from the Christian Zionists, from everybody. So this is why we rock the Orthodox Hezbollah shirt, guys, because of this. Of course, we're going to get into some ethno-guesser here in a second, but I want to address some of this as well. So here we have, boom, here's the same shirt that I'm wearing right now, right? The Orthodox Hezbollah shirt stays on. We got a lot of engagement here, 60,000 views, 1.7K likes. And we had so much hate, but of course, a lot of people saying like, hey, Daniel McAdams, who also regularly contributes to anti-war, he said need. The good people are saying what's good, but then people are like, oh, Hezbollah kills Christians. And I say there are Orthodox Christians in Hezbollah. And of course, referencing this story that World War IX reported on back in 2024, when an informed source close to Hezbollah reports that this missile operation that struck Israeli forces that were in the occupied Lebanese Sheba farms with ATGM missiles was carried out by a Greek Orthodox missile squad from the town of Marjayoun in southern Lebanon. They were from the Lebanese resistance brigades, who, again, historically are a non-Shia element within Hezbollah that include Orthodox Christians, Sunnis, Maronites, but I believe the largest faction of Christians is the Orthodox, because the Lebanese Forces Party, who at this point are doing the will of Israel and America, trying to disarm Hezbollah, especially south of the Litani River, they're supported majority by the Maronites. So that's the situation there. I want to thank Jonathan Kelly and Can Spam and H. Brasi for the super chat so far. If anybody else wants to ask any questions, feel free to send in a super chat. But got to check the Telegram, make sure I'm not missing any breaking news. But it is clear that I would wager Saturday, Friday evening, something like this. I think something's coming. I don't see any way it doesn't. And again, my perspective is, if that doesn't happen, if I've been wrong, if these strikes don't come, it will be because God intervened, not because of some kind of, this war was never likely to happen anyway. Again, it's sheer luck that the Iranians haven't launched a preemptive strike already. So that's the situation that we're dealing with right now. Regarding Russia-Ukraine, though, I want to give some brief updates there. I'm actually going to show this video to people here. Actually, I guess before we do that, we'll address this. Prophecy here from St. Paisios. Bring this back up. It says a prophetic timeline of World War III from St. Paisios of Mount Athos. It says, 1, Soviet Russia will collapse 70 years after the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917. This prediction was made in the late 70s and early 80s. So again, this came true. Soviet Union fell in 1991. So 74 years after its establishment. $5 from Dunkar. He says, link for the Hezi shirt, please. Unfortunately, I said at the beginning, this shirt is no longer commercially available. It used to be sold by Khrushchevsky Supply Company, but it is lost media now. You either have to make your own, which is too bad because this isn't a cheap shirt. The black is like part of the fabric. Like, this isn't something that, like, I could wash this a million times and it'll never stop saying this. So it's a good shirt. Someone said I missed a super chat. Yes. $5 from E-War Mapping. He says, do you think Turkey will play a role in the war with Iran? If the Iran war drags out, Turkey and possibly other powers could get involved. I think so, in the sense that if the regime falls, the Turks have already said that they will go in and they'll form a buffer zone into Iran. They will probably want to prevent the Kurds in Iran from uniting with the Kurds in Iraq and Syria, and forming a united bloc with the Israelis against Turkey, which, look, maybe that's what will happen. The Iran regime will fall. The Israelis and the Americans will just use that same energy to just immediately turn to Turkey. I don't think the Americans would do that because they like Erdogan right now. But yeah, so much of this could go on. Maybe the Turks realize they need to help to get on the good grace. I mean, so many different things could happen. Erdogan could make any decision, but I don't think he wants the Iranians to fall. And he's going to recognize that he's probably next if that's what happens. So if the Turks get involved in Iran, it'll be for their own security in the region, not like it'll just be on their border. And then potentially the dragon could turn to them immediately afterwards. Who knows? All sorts of crazy options. $10. Jonathan Kelly says, I found some golden plates and they helped me decipher the true meaning of Genesis 12:3. Those who bless Conrad will be blessed. So true, guys. The prosperity gospel of Conrad, the chosen. This is the chosen stream. And if you donate to the stream, blessings will come to you. Of course, this is a joke for legal purposes, obviously, but thank you for the $10, Jonathan Kelly. Call me Conrad Smith, starting Warmanism, not Mormonism, but Warmanism of the religion of World War now. That's how we do it. But of course, number 2 here from St. Paisios, it says he saw a vision of the Turkish invasion of Cyprus in 1974, 2 weeks before it occurred. 3, he foresaw the destruction of Turkey by Russia after Turkey attacks Greece. NATO will oppose the Russians, but its forces will be destroyed. It says 4, the nation of Israel will be destroyed 70 to 80 years after its conception. 2/3 of their people will become Christians. That's crazy that could happen. It says the beginning will be near after Turkey closes the Euphrates River Dam. Turkey will be divided into pieces. One piece will go to Greece, one piece will go to Armenia, and one to Kurdistan. I posted this map, which I don't know how accurate it would be, but it generally shows something like that occurring. It says the Dome of the Rock will collapse from below. Armageddon will be close when Solomon's temple is ready to be built. Of course, the Dome of the Rock has already been a place to photograph missiles flying over it over the past few years recently. And then it says Israel will attack its close neighbors with nuclear weapons when they see that their end is near. And of course, Israel has been around for 77, almost 78 years. So these next 2 years, I think, are going to tell the tale when it comes to the Zionist entity. Of course, St. Paisios right there. We had right here, we've got potential new Greece after Russia gives Constantinople back to them. Here's Russian Constantinople, Tsargrad. So a lot of hope here. You know, we don't black pill. And of course, here's me calling all the people disagreeing retarded, as I should. But yes, unless anybody else has any super chats on this specific subject, I want to move on to talk about the Russia-Ukraine war. This was interesting. I think I did want to talk about this on the stream too. It says medical examiner who studied Epstein's corpse noted an enlarged prostate, but Epstein's own words and medical records and released files seem to indicate his prostate was removed. And then here it says he's alive. The corpse that gave over his prostate while Epstein had none. And I've been starting to believe this more and more, that Epstein was never dead. I've thought this for a long time, but I believe that, again, with the pictures that we've seen on the island, with his Rocket League and Steam accounts being active in Israel, with the report on 4chan being confirmed from a prison guard who saw them switch out the bodies, I think it's pretty clear that Jeffrey Epstein is likely still alive. So that is the World War Now perspective. Would love to hear everybody else's comments. Is Jeffrey Epstein still alive? You guys let me know. But while you talk about that, I'm going to play this video. I'm going to take a quick drink, blow my nose here really quick while you watch this video that will set the stage for what's going on in Russia. And then I'm going to discuss the impending battle for the Svyatogorsk monastery, which is effectively being fought right now. So check this out. This is a really good video from Rebar about the latest updates in Russia, Ukraine.
At the end of 2025, the most intense fighting unfolded on the northern flank of the Lyman axis. Russian troops advanced toward the border with the Kharkiv region, forming a broad encirclement of Svyatogorsk and Lyman from the northwest. On the Oleksandrivka-Kharkivka line, Russian troops continued the systematic offensive they had begun in December. By early February, they had firmly established themselves on the approaches to Korovy Yar and were engaged in fighting in the center of Oleksandrivka. Meanwhile, to the southeast, assault aircraft of the West grouping were gaining a foothold north of Svyatogorsk by early February, having driven the AFU from their positions near Sosnove, Yarova, and Drobyshev. By February 20th, assault troops had engaged in combat in the Izumrudny Les camp and advanced along the railway near Sosnove, while the Ukrainian armed forces conducted a local counterattack on the southern outskirts of Novoselivka. In the vicinity of Lyman, by January 23rd, units of the 20th Army liberated Stavky and, over the next few weeks, cleared most of the pocket to the east. In Lyman itself, fighters of the 25th Army attempted to break through to the city center, gradually pressing AFU positions from the east. Further south, the Russian armed forces drove the enemy out of the forest near Dubrova, starting a battle for the Starry Eye caravan.
I'm back, and I wanted to freeze it right here because this shows you Svyatogorsk right here, the town, right? This is where the monastery is, somewhere along this stretch of river here. So the monastery is in the gray zone, very much within the front line here. And I wanted to read this report from Ortho Christian. So remember this, Russians impending down on Svyatogorsk, which in 2022 went back and forth several times between Russians and Ukrainians. It says here, I'm actually going to share this one as well. It says Metropolitan Arseny of Svyatogorsk released from detention after 22 months. Of course, he is the abbot of Svyatogorsk Monastery, which, for those that don't know, is the pixel art that you see when you watch the Ether Hour episodes on YouTube. So I'll actually bring that up in a second for those that don't already know. But it says here, His Eminence Metropolitan Arseny of Svyatogorsk of the Canonical Ukrainian Orthodox Church was released from pretrial detention today after spending 22 months behind bars. A court in Dnipro, home of the largest synagogue in Europe, ruled today to change the measure of restraint against him from pretrial detention to house arrest, reports the Svyatogorsk Lavra, where Metropolitan Arseny has served as abbot for decades. The decision is not subject to appeal. Metropolitan Arseny was initially detained on April 25th, 2024, for mentioning a military checkpoint in a homily months prior. After 18 months behind bars, he was released on October 28th, 2025, after his lawyers secured bail in the amount of 1.5 million hryvnias, or $35,000, almost $36,000. However, immediately upon exiting the detention facility, security service officers met and presented him with new charges that had been issued 3 weeks earlier. He was eventually transferred back to the detention facility. Doctors determined in late September that the hierarch urgently needs heart surgery, but has not received adequate medical attention while under the state's watch. Since the beginning of his hostilities in eastern Ukraine, Metropolitan Arseny regularly supported people affected by the conflict, with the Svyatogorsk Lavra serving as shelter for thousands of people amid the war. So keep Metropolitan Arseny in your prayers. Perhaps he may find himself arrested again if his monastery is liberated from Ukrainians and taken by the Russians. So be sure to keep him and the other persecuted hierarchs in Ukraine, of course, in your prayers. $5 from Andronikov 1054. Hey, blessed Lent to you. Do you know if the saints have said anything about the USA during World War III? Thanks for what you do. I do. We talk about it fairly frequently on the show. And the main thing that will come to the United States is earthquakes, pestilence, and natural disasters. I would wager that the situation, the fault line in California is going to go. I think a lot of the west coast of the United States is going to sink into the ocean, and this is what a lot of the saints talk about. Elder Ephraim of Arizona talks about how Life-Giving Spring Monastery will be like surrounded by water. It will be like an island surrounded by the ocean. So I think that's what we're likely to see in America. America will also it will be supporting the wars around the world, but I think it will lose its, generally speaking, multipolarity, and the fall of America's superpower status is coming, according to Elder Ephraim, Eldris Galactia, and some other elders. So that is the situation. My recommendations for people in America is find an Orthodox monastery, perhaps in the interior of the country if you were on the West Coast, and go there and speak with the monks, find a spiritual father, or even if you can't find a monastery, find a parish where the priest will be strong and continue to serve the gifts and do the liturgy in the midst of natural disasters, political turmoil. Somebody who recognizes that what happened during COVID was wrong. I think that's the baseline as far as wanting somebody that will be doing the right thing in the midst of extreme civilizational upheaval, which I think we might be living through. But thank you for the $5, Andronikov 1054. Pray for me. I'll be praying for everybody that watches, because that's what we need the most. Because look, I might have this show and talk about being Orthodox, but I don't pray near as much as I should. I don't fast properly as much as I should. I don't repent properly. So I need the prayers more than anybody, because I'm on here yapping all the time with people telling me how much they like me, and I'm not really holding it up. So keep me in your prayers most of all, if possible. But with all of that, we of course have, let me check the Telegram. We've got to play some ethno-guesser here, of course. We're 45 minutes in. Still super mad about the Substack situation, but that is that. Maybe we'll increase the super chat numbers if more people are watching on the YouTube. Speaking of that, maybe Substack needs to start adding super chat features. Dunkar says $5. What about the East Coast? Even Florida has monasteries founded by Yaron the Ephraim. That's true. I don't know. I don't think there's going to be as many, maybe besides earthquakes and blizzards and hurricanes, I think are going to be hitting the East Coast. So be careful about that. But not a huge amount of specific, explicit prophecies. I think we're going to obviously, I mean, the monasteries even existing with St. Paisios talking about America becoming holy. I think the existence of 17 of Elder Ephraim's monasteries in America and Canada is evidence to the fulfillment of that prophecy. I mean, my parish has 100 catechumens. I know parishes that have 300 catechumens, hundreds and hundreds all across America, especially the South, California, in the Northwest, these sorts of places having huge amount of Orthodox growth. So prophecies are being fulfilled very much as we speak. But yeah, we'll probably need to compile some things and do a big episode on potential prophecies that discuss America and the United States, because that's where I live. But of course, geoengineering is often discussed. Metropolitan Neophytos talks about HARP and how they're manufacturing a lot of these storms and these other things. Eldris Galactia, other people speak about this. So Eldris Galactia's book is being translated or her life and her sayings are being translated by Uncut Mountain Press into English. So I'll be sure to check that out. We want to get Father Peter, or maybe even someone that knew Eldris Galactia, to get on the show to talk about her, another uncanonized saint that we are going to be doing. But yeah, I mean, Panagia Vlachernon in Florida. If you live in Florida, that's one of Elder Ephraim's monasteries to go to. If you live in North Carolina, there's ones you can go to. If you live in Texas, there's St. Paraskevi, Holy Archangels. If you live in California, you can go to Life Giving Spring. If you live in Arizona, you can go to St. Anthony's or St. Paisius. If you live in Washington, you can go to St. John the Forerunner. There's also Vashon Island Monastery, where Abbot Trifon is on Vashon Island. If you live in Wisconsin, there's St. John Chrysostomos. There's Elder Ephraim has monasteries in Michigan and Illinois. If you live in New York, there's St. Nectarios Monastery from Elder Ephraim. If you live in Quebec, there's Panagia Paragoratissa in Quebec. If you live in Ontario, there's St. Cosmas Monastery from Elder Ephraim. I'm trying to think of any that I'm totally missing and forgetting. There's obviously other monasteries besides just Elder Ephraim's, of course. So find ones near you, find good parishes, and shore up that spiritual. Let's begin to shore up spiritual goal, as it were, and prayers and fasting and relationships of people that are doing the same thing, because that's what's going to get us through. Of course, Jordanville is in New York. Of course, St. Tikhon's is in Pennsylvania. Of course, there are Holy Cross in West Virginia, all sorts of Orthodox monasteries to visit. So check all of that out. Yeah, I mean, weather control, people are speculating in the chat. There could be all sorts of different things that go down. So again, gotta stay vigilant and prayerful. And nothing wrong with doing a little bit of prepping, perhaps. Got to keep it to the Hezbollah theme here. This is was from yesterday from Anti-War. It says, Israel has informed the Lebanese government that Lebanon's civilian infrastructure will be hit hard if Hezbollah in any way takes part in the apparently upcoming U.S.-Iran war. Lebanese officials have urged Hezbollah not to do so, since the war does not concern us. The twin hopes are that Hezbollah will stay out of the war and that Israel won't just attack Hezbollah anyway. The latter seems incredibly unrealistic, as Israel has been in a state of ceasefire with Lebanon since November 2024 and has attacked Lebanon over 1,000 times in that period. The reports in the lead up to the presumptive U.S. attack on Iran are that Israel was planning massive attacks on Shiite targets across the region as part of the war. This would include attacking Lebanon, Iraq, and Yemen. Israel has been escalating the rate at which they're already attacking Lebanon for weeks in anticipation of this, even though Hezbollah hasn't fired a single shot at Israel since the ceasefire went into effect. The hope that Israel won't attack Lebanon if Hezbollah doesn't attack them does not appear to have a very strong historical basis. That's true. Israel struck Lebanon today. Indeed, Israel attacked the Lebanese army post in Marjayun just today, and the government has instructed Lebanese forces to return fire if the attacks begin again. This could quickly lead to Israel further escalating war with Lebanon that is not even tangentially related to Hezbollah. In practice, Israel has been attacking Lebanon on a daily basis for a very long time now, so in many ways the threat to start a new war is likely to ring hollow at any rate. The attempt to link it to the Iran war by imposing an obligation on Hezbollah to stay out of it, similarly, is likely to be a tough sell when all indications are Israel is viewing the potential war as license to attack Shiites unilaterally, and in all likelihood, they will do so whether or not Hezbollah does anything at all. So, again, everyone talking about Hezbollah, I respect Hezbollah, I support them, but they should be striking back already. I mean, they killed Nasrallah, their guy, since 1992. They're killing their guys every day, and they're just holding back because, I mean, they know the moment they strike, Israel's going to go all out against them, and they might not survive this next assassination on Naim Qassem and their other leadership. But they also recognize that if the Iranian regime is threatened, then there goes their support. So I think they're going to get dragged into this, unfortunately. And Hezbollah, don't underestimate them. They were able to inflict serious damage on Israel. They did not get destroyed. Sub-state actor. They're not even a country. And Israel, with the full support of the United States, has not been able to destroy them. So don't do the whole, oh, they can't win. They can't win. They're not even a country, and they're holding their own against literal Zog. So I'm sorry, I don't do the whole like, oh, they're brown, we can't respect them. No, I respect them. They're fighting the Jews. Like that's what we're all about here. So that's God bless them. I wish they would become Orthodox, but it doesn't mean they're not fighting the right thing. And I think that ultimately, when this all goes down, they're going to be able to do some real damage, because in the 2024 war, that, you know, when they entered into war to defend the Gazans and the Palestinians that were being genocided, they could have destroyed Kiryat Shmona. Kiryat Shmona, still, you can't go there as a journalist. They still haven't. I mean, they still haven't told us the full damage and the death count that Hezbollah inflicted on Israel during that time, because Israel is a military censorship state. So a lot to think about, because the Houthis are going to resume their blockade of the Red Sea when all of this goes down. Iraqi Shia militias, Kataib Hezbollah, the Popular Mobilization Forces, they're growing by the thousands every day. So they're going to be launching missiles. They've been posting videos showing extensive tunnel systems, looks like Hezbollah. So this is not just going to be some easy thing. And that's why you read what's really going to go down, and everyone admits that this goes down the way it is, minimum multi-weeks long operation. Americans will die. American pilots will get shot down. American ships will get, like, it's very unlikely that if we overthrow the regime, Americans will die. There's no way around that. So that's the situation that we're in. So at the liturgies, when we're praying for our armed forces, genuinely pray. And that doesn't mean that you support the cause that they're fighting for. It means that you support the lives of the people that are going to be there, because one thing the devil is going to love in the midst of all this war is all the death and the ascending souls and the demons. They're going to be rejoicing in their fresh crop of damned souls that unfortunately are going to have died without baptism, without having accepted the resurrection. So Lord have mercy. That's what we're dealing with. So do the best you can to stay pure, because our prayers are going to be needed to save more than just ourselves. A lot of people are going to need the prayers of the Orthodox. So keep all of that in mind. I'm sort of just, strikes could happen now. That's how we're at right now. But we probably need to get into playing some ethno-guesser, which I know is why a lot of people are here. So hope everybody is ready for some ethno-guesser. Want to remind everybody that hasn't already done so, please subscribe at worldwarnow.co, get behind the paywall, get access to all of the Ether Hour episodes, our recent episode with Andrei Afanasiev, our episode before that with Levan Vasadze, deep dive on Georgian Orthodoxy, Georgian monarchism. This man is the godfather of the current heir to the Georgian throne. He's a personal friend of Patriarch Ilya. He talks extensively about him. So check that one out. Really, really great. And the episode before that, another intense banger. Matthew Raphael Johnson. Fantastic conversation with the professor himself, somebody who really is the World War Now academic, if there was one. So be sure to check all of that out. Get behind the paywall. Support the show. If you don't want to do that, or if you've already done that and you want to make a one-time payment, continue to support, go to buymeacoffee.com/World War Now. Support the show as much as you can. That is what keeps these streams going. That's what keeps the weekly news analysis free. And that is, of course, what keeps the Ether Hour guests coming. So thank you all so much for support. Thank you to the super chatters. If you want to ask any more questions, feel free to keep sending them in. I'm going to answer them while we play Ethno-Guesser. But with all that being said, you know what it is. It's time for Racist GeoGuessr, everybody's favorite game. Dun, da, da, da. All right. Let's hope for less Africa this time, because last week it was just brutal with the endless. It was like 6 Africa out of 10. So I want everyone to put on their thinking caps and get ready, because I want to get at least a few 5,000s. So 3, 2, 1, boom. Oh. Okay. Unfortunately, I'm not seeing Alex from Rasputin Archive in chat. These are Pacific people. The question is, are they from over here? Or are they maybe from over here? I'm gonna need help on this one, chat. Equator. Guatemala, someone says. They look pretty Asian. People are saying Guatemala. That's what it definitely makes sense. I'm just afraid that I'm gonna get juked and it's gonna be some of this nonsense, Could be Guatemala. I mean, it could maybe be something down here. But I think Guatemala makes sense. Ooh. I was thinking too Pacific. I was getting distracted by that. Not great. We had just gone down or over there. Cuba. Amazonid proper. Dominant type of the rainforest of the North Amazon River to the Caribbean. That was on me. I set the range as way too far east, so that's on me. But all right, 1868, not great, below average, I'm sure. So let's get the next round, and we're in Africa. This has to be like, I don't know, man. I'm sure everyone's gonna say like Nigeria or Congo, but I'm sure it's gonna be some of this. It's always like Sudan. Everyone's, I knew people were gonna say Nigeria. I mean, it does. I get why you would say that, Look, maybe if you super chat if you're really convicted of something, super chat it, and then I'll be pretty much forced to guess it. But I'm tempted to go Cameroon because you pretty much would get it if it's Nigeria, and it's a bit of a hedge if it's South Sudan and Congo. So if anyone else is strongly convicted of something that isn't Cameroon, Nigeria, Sudan, let it be known now. But I have a feeling this might just be Sudan as well. But I'm locking in on this. Let's do it. Ooh, wrong again. Dang it. Sudanid Genesede. So these were Guineans, people from Guinea-Bissau. Yeah, I mean, these are like, we're talking like 50 IQ here. So not great, gang. Not great. I'll blame the fasting on my bad mental performance. All right, so this is some jittery right here for sure. Can somebody with some insight into the subcontinent tell me where these light jeets are from, yo? I need some assistance. Because these are not your typical Indians. These are not your typical Dalits. People are saying Kashmir. Seems accurate. Jammu and Kashmir. Closer to Nepal. I don't know. I feel like Kashmir is almost more legit. These people look like they'd be upper middle class. Definitely not untouchable street sweepers, even though they are, of course, T50s. But I think I'm going to probably go Kashmir, although, near Nepal is kind of convincing, but, Nepal, extremely low IQ area. So I'm going to go here, and we're going to see. We're going to see how it goes. I'm just cucking myself. I'm just missing by like the same amount every single dang time. Can this please show me what it was? Why it not tell me? This is trash. There we go. Central bracket. Indo-bracket variety with morphological and geographical position between west and east brackets. Dang it. So yeah, New Delhi would have worked. But it wanted us to go in. Yeah, you were largely right, Jonathan. So My bad. Dang it. Not my best. Like, I'm getting frustratingly different rounds here. Oh boy. Low key, the guy looks like half of the Ukrainian government, if we're being honest. I mean, look up Rustem Umarov, freaking Zelensky. These people, it looks they all look like this guy. But dang. I feel like it's gonna be like somewhere around here. Like I'm probably gonna go like Black Sea coast, Bulgaria, Romania, Kazakhstan. You guys don't know what Kazakhstan would look like. Azeri? Oh, Azerbaijan could make sense, but honestly, it'd probably be the same ethnic phenotype going here. Guy kind of looks like land shark. It could be somewhere in the Middle East, but it's not. But it's not like they're Arab 100%. So, all right, I'm locking this in. Oh, African alpinoid. The most Brachiocephalic Maghrebi tribe shows close morphological similarities to alpines and in a lower degree to armenids and berberids. Dang. Common in the Atlas Mountains of Algeria and Tunisia. Subvariety exists in the island of Jerba. Yeah, so these are like, yeah, balls. Not great, gang. No 5,000s yet. Okay. Okay. Here, here, here. What kind of Jeets? We're back to Jeet mode. What are we thinking? What are we feeling? SAR call center, South India, Sri Lanka confirmed. Tamil Nadu, Kerala. All right, there we go. Malabarese. Invaded influence type, southwestern India. Found in its most typical form in Kerala. Our first 5,000. Got to get a few more of these. But that was good. I know we've gotten them before. Okay. It could be here. It could be up here. It could be here. It could be here. What do you guys think? You guys think Britain? You guys think continent? Or you guys think Scandinavia? Those are the three options. Britain, continent, Scandinavia. I guess it could be over here. But I mean, very blue eyes. The guy I don't know, maybe here. Slavic Germanic mix. Yeah. I see Slavic Germanic mix. Here. Eastern Germany. Baltics, maybe. Yeah, Baltics makes sense. This one's tough. It's the guy that's throwing me off. Latvia is starting to make sense. Is anybody convicted on something? I mean, I could just hedge like right here in the middle of the freaking sea, but I think I'm going to go there. I'm pretty close to a lot of everything else. All right. Darn. Pretty good. 4586. But yeah, these are just like Russians. Neo-Danubians, East Europid variety with Nordid and Ladogan elements. Frequent in Belarus, Greater Russia, and Poland. Yeah, these are just like Belarusians and like people you meet in Russia. Like when you meet a white Russian person, it's like this person. I mean, these are just like, this is like a huge percentage of Slavs, I think. Yeah, but pretty much a 5,000. But yeah, glad I didn't go any of these places. So east. Oh, dang, this is tough. This is tough. I don't know, like maybe Northern Italian. The guy kind of looks like Salvini. That's kind of where I'm going right now because they have blue eyes, I think. I mean, yeah, they've got kind of lighter eyes, but Calabria. I feel like we had the Calabrians before though, and it wasn't this. Like I don't think that was what they looked like. Syrian. I don't know. Yeah, maybe like here. You know, maybe they're like Italian Slavs. Someone's talking about the lunar eclipse over on March 3rd, Purim March 2nd. Yeah, I mean, I've said that the attack's probably going to happen on March 1st, February 28th, or one of those days, the eve of Purim, to commemorate that. So I didn't realize there was going to be a lunar eclipse. I guess I think it's really going to happen then. But I mean, yeah, these are people from like Trieste. Like I'm going to guess that these are Triestians because I have met a guy from Trieste that also looks like this. He was just really Slovenian, but someone's saying Dutch. I don't know. I might be totally wrong. This one isn't super obvious. No one else seems to be super convicted either. But I might look something up on this lunar eclipse. But let's lock this in. Boom. It's just the same place as last time. North Pontid, altered Mediterranean of Eastern Europe that connects Pontids with more northern types. Okay, so it's like, yeah, these are just like Black Sea Slavs that migrated north. Look, it's going right around me again. All right. People saying beware the Ides of March. Julius Caesar. But dang. Most common in a large area from Poland to the Russian city of Penza. Is that really where that is? Yep, Penza Oblast. I do like the map with all the oblasts of Russia. All right, back to Africa. Not even complaining this time. This is giving me South Africa energy. But I don't really know. What do you guys think? What are you guys feeling on these? What is the chat saying? Zimbabwe, giraffe hunters. Okay, I could see Zimbabwe. That's a good guess. It's a good input. Let's go here. Stankonia. Okay. Lesotho. Oh, why does that sound legit? Lesotho kind of sounds legit somehow. Not really sure how, but it does. Lesotho and Zimbabwe are sounding the most convicting. Maybe I hedge in southern Zimbabwe. It's not that far from Lesotho. Jonathan Kelly, $5. Time to gamble. And when the U.S. strikes on Polymarket. Conrad, time to chill. Come on, man. I can't. First of all, we're Christians. I can't gamble. And even if I did want to gamble, I feel like if I gambled and won money because I knew about the prophecies, then I could be accused in ecclesial court of divination or something like that. So, just gonna not really open that can of worms. The only gambling I've been into is just good old fashioned at the casino. Just blackjack, roulette, craps. Not that I go there often, but in my confession, I have been there and it is fun. So that. But yeah, Lesotho seems like it could be legit, guys. Are you Zimbabwe heads more convicted than VV Go is about Lesotho? Like, someone let me know, because I might just lock this in because it is Lesotho that's legendary. But I'm ready to see people duke it out in chat. But thank you for the $5, Jonathan. Look, maybe I'll get some non-Orthodox person on here and we can watch them bet on Polymark. But okay, Zimbabwe with no reason. Why? Some people got to give me some reasons for why they believe what they do. You know what? No, we're just locking this one in. Bruh. Some straight Congo. Twakwa. Pygmoid type of the Congo forests, intermediate between Bambutids and Congolesids. Important groups in the Democratic Republic of Congo are Mongo Kwa, close to the Mai Nobombe and Tumba lakes, as well as the Kasai Kwa of the Lomani River. So these are just straight up pygmies. I thought this guy did look like a little man. So, yep, northern Zimbabwe would have been a better hedge for sure. But yeah, I guess you can find them in DRC and Burundi. So, and Tanzania. So, good to know. Lock this one in, guys. Twakwa. Yep. All right. 2 more rounds. Let's go, baby. Oh, what am I looking at? The woman looks like a Native American man, and the man looks like Rami Malek. Dude, I don't even know. Someone's going to have to just do this one for me. What? Are these like... Guy kind of looks like... It's like Malaysia? I think it's got to be like Malaysia. We're saying Hispanics. I don't know if these are these Hispanics. Everyone's saying Hispanic. I don't know if these are even... I thought these were like Asians. $20, it's Cuba. I don't know, man. I mean, now that I see it, I kind of see the Hispanic, but if this is Malaysia, I'm going to be pretty unhappy. Tahiti, Puerto Rico, Pacific Islands, like New Zealand. Yeah, it could be like Maori. Yarn chicken is, it's pretty convincing. So I'm going to go with this one. Boom. South Polynesian. Southern Polynesian variety. Some assume similarities with the first Polynesian variety that migrated from Southeast Asia into Oceania. Found in its purest form in the Maori of New Zealand. Yep. Maori. Yarn chicken and her gifted ethno-guesser playing children for the win. So yeah, these people ate the original inhabitants of New Zealand. So cannibals. And we're back in Africa. Those are just black people, man. Like, it's just a black guy. Like, what do you want me to say? This has me more thinking like Kenya. but I don't know. Sudan as well. Guy could be Myron Gaines. I don't know. Oh, now people want to say Ghana and everything else. The guy doesn't look that much like the last guy from Guinea-Bissau. Rwanda could be legit. I want to see what Yarn Chicken says. We're going to have some more round updates after this game, so not going to wrap it up yet. So feel free to send in any more super chats. Yeah, Somalia, I don't think the guy's head looks light bulby enough to be Somalia. Somalia, Rwanda. I kind of feel still kind of like this. Like I'm kind of convicted there, but I could be totally wrong. I'm going to go where these three countries meet, maybe total country hedge. But I'm going to give it 10 more seconds. If anyone else is very convicted, I'm going to put it down there. I don't know about this. I'm not feeling this. I don't really know. Dang it, I was right. I was literally exactly right. Why did I move it? Oh, I was exactly correct, and I doubted. Okay. Top 17%. No, we're below top 15%. Still, we're even declining. We've gone down. Not terrible, though. We didn't get any zeros. I think our lowest was a 996. It was in Africa, but that was a good round. Thank you, Yarn Chicken, for our 5,000 on the New Zealand. What other 5K did I get? I think I almost got a 5K here. I got another one. Yeah, down here with those Jeets. So thank you all for playing along. That was a good one. But we have some more Iran updates. So stay buckled in. Send in some super chats because we still have a bit of show here for you now in the Orthodox Hezbollah piece, doing what we do. Jesus is the Son of God. That's what we're repping. We have you right here. Yarn Chicken, $10 to help pay for ethnoguesser tutoring with my kid. Thank you. Well, at this point, he's tutoring me half the time. So thank you for the $10. Thank you for your beautiful family tuning in with me on Wednesday evenings. It's a wonderful thing to see. Thank you all for being here. Hope you all are enjoying a clean week. Hope you all had good pre-sanctified liturgies that you are still enjoying, having just communed at. So here from Dave DeCamp, hero of ours, anti-war. Vice President J.D. Vance said on Wednesday that Iran should take President Trump's threats seriously as the U.S. continues a major military buildup in the Middle East to prepare for what appears to be a coming attack on the Islamic Republic. Vance has emerged as one of the leading figures in the Trump administration who is making the claim that the potential war is about the prospect of Iran acquiring a nuclear weapon, despite months of insistence from the president that the June 2025 U.S. airstrikes obliterated the country's nuclear facilities. You can't let the craziest and worst regime in the world have nuclear weapons, Vance told Fox News. The president has several other tools at his disposal to ensure this doesn't happen. He's shown a willingness to use them, and I hope the Iranians take it seriously in the negotiations tomorrow, because that's certainly what the president prefers. Later in the day, Vance made the claim that there's evidence Iran is trying to rebuild a nuclear weapon, though Iran has never possessed nuclear weapons. The vice president likely meant to say nuclear weapons program, but there was no evidence Iran was pursuing a bomb before Israel launched the 12-day war, and that was the opinion of U.S. intelligence agencies at the time. The principle is very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, Vance told reporters. If they try to rebuild a nuclear weapon, that causes problems for us. In fact, we've seen evidence that they have tried to do exactly that. While the administration insists the potential war is about Iran's nuclear program, the likely U.S. goal of any attack would be regime change or destroying Iran's conventional missile program so it can't threaten Israel. Either goal would require a massive attack and likely cannot be achieved by air power alone. And again, that's been the big hesitation, is no one wants boots on the ground. Most people don't even want limited special forces on the ground, and it's likely impossible to fully take out the regime without some kind of operation with paratroopers or something like that. So that's the tough situation. And again, despite the fact that the U.S. is, Iran clearly wants to make a deal, and they're talking. And Iran has all these agreements that they need. They want sanctions relief as well. In the midst of all of this, this is here. It says the Trump administration on Wednesday imposed new Iran-related sanctions a day before U.S. and Iranian officials will meet for another round of talks in Geneva amid the major U.S. military buildup in the Middle East. The Treasury Department said that it imposed sanctions on more than 30 individuals, entities, and vessels accused of transporting oil for Iran or enabling the country's ballistic missile program, and that it was continuing the so-called maximum pressure campaign. It's unclear if there will be progress in these talks on Thursday, since the U.S. continues to demand zero uranium enrichment, a condition Tehran has made clear as a non-starter, though it has reportedly offered to suspend its enrichment for 3 to 5 years and restart it at a low level as part of a regional consortium. Some reports suggest the U.S. may go for a deal that allows token enrichment, but publicly, Trump officials continue to insist on zero enrichment. So I don't see the negotiations going anywhere. And as we discussed with the potential for Hezbollah and Israel going to war in the midst of the Iran buildup, it says here, fresh off of Israel threatening to attack civilian infrastructure in Lebanon, Israeli ground troops launched multiple cross-border raids into Lebanon, destroying what they claimed were Hezbollah outposts. Evidence that any of the targets, which were reportedly in the village of Ramia and the adjacent village of Jabal Blat, were linked to Hezbollah was not offered, though the IDF did release grainy video of their attack on the building in the area. They did, however, confirm a direct cross-border attack by Israeli troops against Lebanese soldiers near Sarda. The soldiers were reportedly constructing a military outpost near the Lebanese village when the Israeli forces decided to stop the work. The Israeli army claimed they contacted the Lebanese troops and issued a warning to them to stop, and when they just shot at them. They accused the Lebanese army of building the site in an uncoordinated manner. The Lebanese army, for their part, says that they have ordered the soldiers to continue to reinforce the post, remain there, and return fire if the Israelis attack them again. So far, there haven't been any further incidents reported since Tuesday. Israel's previous threats on Lebanon were couched as starting off a new war if Hezbollah got involved in a potential U.S.-Iran war. Hezbollah, for their part, has insisted they don't intend to get involved in such a war if one occurs, though Israel continues attacking Lebanon on a near-daily basis at any rate, and indeed they've hit Lebanon over 1,000 times since the 2024 ceasefire, despite Hezbollah not launching a single strike since that deal went into effect. And again, the Trump State of the Union last night discussed Iran rebuilding this, and Iran Foreign Minister spokesperson Ismail Bagheya said on Wednesday that the U.S. was repeating big lies about Iran's nuclear program. Of course, in the address, he said that Iran was working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States. That they refuse to say that they will never have nuclear weapons. That's what I talked about earlier. Despite that, Irakchi explicitly said that they will never have nuclear weapons. He said, and then Bagheya, he said that professional liars are good at creating the illusion of truth. Repeat a lie often enough and it becomes the truth. Bagheya said that whatever the U.S. is alleging regarding Iran's nuclear program, Iran's ballistic missiles, and the number of casualties during January's unrest is simply the repetition of big lies. No one should be fooled by these prominent untruths. So the war of words continues. It doesn't, like, everyone's trying to go into it with a good attitude to the negotiations, but the U.S. accuses them of trying to make a nuclear weapon, puts sanctions on them, and continues to send thousands and thousands of billions of dollars of resources to the Middle East to fight the Iranians. So that's the current situation that we are dealing with. Not seeing anything new on Telegram. If anybody has any final questions for me to address in this live stream, please send those now in the chat on the YouTube channel. I will read those. I will react to whatever questions, things people have. But as we wind things down, I want to encourage everybody, please follow us, subscribe to us, get your email behind. Get access to all of our episodes at worldwarnow.co. Of course, boom, that's where everything is happening. $7 a month, you get access to all of our content. You don't just get access to all the Ether Hour episodes, you get access to our Q&A threads, which I will be releasing very soon. So you ask us questions to be answered in future Ether Hour episodes. You get access to our paid subscriber-only Discord chats in the Discord server. So be sure to check all of that out. I'm in there pretty often talking to people. So get there, get access to all of the incredible content. You, of course, also get access to the Death of Empire documentary, 4.5 hours from Metropolitan Tikhon of Crimea, all about the truth about the Bolshevik Revolution that they won't want to tell you, that all of our communist historians don't want to tell you. So be sure to check all of that out. If you want to support us on the Buy Me a Coffee channel, buymeacoffee.com/World War Now. You can do that. Support us with a one-time donation. If you're already behind the paywall, this is a great way to continue to support the show. If you want to follow us on X, be sure to follow us at World War Now _ You can find us right here. Great account to follow. We're growing very quickly. Be sure to also follow me at Gnomerad, getting close to 12,000 followers, gaining a lot of followers recently. So be sure to check that out. I'm posting a lot of great stuff. Again, stuff like this. And you can see me calling people retarded all day. So really, really great way I spend my time, right? But do all of that. Subscribe here on the YouTube channel. If you haven't liked the video, wherever you happen to be watching, please do so. Like, leave a comment, share. Find us on Telegram at World War Now Telly. Find us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, World War Now. All sorts of places you want to find podcasts. And of course, like I said, worldwarnow.co. That is the home base. But I'm not seeing any more super chats. I'll let it probably go for another minute here if anybody else wants to send anything final in. But yes, thank you all for tuning in. Been a great episode of World War Live, potentially the last episode of World War Live before World War III becomes completely impossible to ignore as the war between us, Israel, and the Iranians fully breaks out. I do anticipate in the next week what will be a weeks-long military operation that will be one of the more intense things we've seen in a long time is about to unfold. So that's my perspective. Keep it all in prayer. Keep this show in your prayers. And yeah, thank you all so much for joining in and supporting. Not seeing any more super chats, so I think it's about time to wrap this up. But with all of that, thank you all so much for tuning in, and I will see you on the next one. God bless. Oh, we're back. He got me at the last moment. $5. Jonathan Kelly from the Abundant Goy Fund. Thank you, brother, for the $5. Greatly appreciated. I guess I forgot to thank all the super chatters. So thank you to Jonathan Kelly, H. Brasi, Ebor Mapping, Canned Spam, Dunkar, Yarn Chicken for the super chats, for the donations. It really, really helps us out. You are always remembered, and you are the ones that are keeping the lights on here at the proverbial World War Now bunker. So thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will see you on the next one. God bless.